Okay, this is the place where you are going to learn the communication skills that are going to help you with that next difficult conversation, whether that is a negotiation, trying to get feedback, trying to give feedback, setting a boundary, asking for a raise, making a pitch, giving a speech, whatever it is. This is the place where we are going to give you the tips to do it. And today I'm giving you one of the 12 proven ways to be more charismatic. Now, storytelling has had its day for the past, like a long time. People love storytelling and they talk about the power of storytelling. And storytelling is one of the charismatic tools for sure. There's 12 of them according to the research. We're going to talk about a lot of them on this podcast/YouTube channel going forward. Storytelling is definitely one of them, but storytelling has its drawbacks. Good storytelling takes time. You need to set up the story. You need to have a hero or a heroine. You need to set it up to a climax, and then you've got to have the resolution. That's a true story. Otherwise, most of the time, what people are doing is anecdotes. So we can talk about storytelling. Lots of other people talk about storytelling, but today I am going to share with you 2 words that are not only going to help you to be more charismatic, but are also going to help you to be understood. Now, I teach a lot of people how to communicate, whether that's in the courtroom or in a deposition or in a boardroom or on a stage. And the biggest fear for a lot of people is that they will be misunderstood. Please let people understand me. Please let people know what I mean when I talk. And these 2 words are going to help you with that. The 2 words are, it's like. Now, I'm going to explain why those 2 words are so important, and then we'll come back to those 2 words. Rather than focusing on storytelling, today what we're focusing on is metaphor. Metaphors, similes, analogies. You might feel this little understanding that I learned about that in school somewhere, and you did, but you're going to learn about it in a much more straightforward and simple way here today. Metaphors, analogies, and similes are ways of comparing something that someone doesn't know to something that they do. So, an example of a metaphor is she's an open book. She's not literally an open book, but in your head, you know, an open book means there's nothing hidden. Everything is out there for you to see. And she is completely transparent, unhidden. Everything's out there for you to see. So she's an open book. You missed the boat. You didn't literally miss a boat, but you understand what it is to miss a boat. To miss a boat means you didn't get what you wanted. You're not going to be on time. You're missing out on opportunities. That's what it means to miss the boat. Another example is it's showtime. It's not literally a show going on. We're not in a Broadway play here. But if you're giving a presentation or you're going to have that difficult conversation or you're about to stand up to a bully, you might say it's showtime. If I wanted to explain that someone was very good at sales, I might say she could sell water to a fish. She's not literally selling water to a fish, but that is a metaphor that allows people to understand the concept. So all of these are phenomenal metaphors, simple, straightforward, well-known ones that will allow you to see the power of comparing something that your audience understands to something that they don't. So often people will use sports metaphors because a lot of people understand sports. So she's rounding the bases. There's one that I love that says he was born on third base and acts like he hit a triple. Like, I know what that means, right? It's like somebody who has almost gotten what they want and they act like they got there as opposed to being born there. It's a great metaphor for me. There's so many, we're at the 40-yard line. You know, people use all kinds of sports metaphors because people understand sports and therefore they're more likely to understand what you are saying. Metaphors, when presidential candidates use metaphors, they're seen as far more inspirational and far more charismatic. Metaphors make you more charismatic. They make you more likely to be understood. And so your job is to learn to play with metaphors, to learn to see them not as something you learned in English that you'll never use again, but something you can play with. So recently, a few weeks ago, one of my dear, dear friends passed away. He was a doctor that I represented when I was a young attorney, and I had the privilege of representing him more than once. Not because he was a bad attorney, a bad doctor. As you may know, if you've been watching this YouTube channel or listening to the podcast for a while, I represent doctors when they're sued. Some people think if a doctor sued more than once, they must be a bad doctor. But there's a lot more that goes into it. If they perform a lot of surgeries, if they perform a lot of high-risk surgeries, if there's a recognized complication with those surgeries, patients may have complications, or patients might just want to make a buck and therefore sue. And so I had the privilege of representing this doctor more than once. And he was so good at metaphors. He would tell us things. He talked about knee replacements, and he would describe for the jury that the cartilage in your knee is like the tread on a tire. And as it wears down, it's more likely to get holes and to rub up against the pavement and to become dangerous. And juries don't know anything about cartilage in knees, but they do understand the tread on a tire. And so that metaphor, that analogy, that way of helping the jury to understand was extremely, extremely effective. And if you can do this in the courtroom for the jury, it can be extremely effective. But it can also be extremely effective for you. If you can learn to think in metaphor, speak in metaphor, convey your understanding or your point in metaphor, you will be seen as more charismatic. And more importantly, people will understand what you're saying and get the benefit of it. This happened to me recently when I was coaching someone. This was a woman I was coaching who was frustrated at work because the people at work were asking her to do something that she wasn't very confident in. She didn't feel like she was very good at this thing. And she wanted to instead do this thing that she was very confident in, and also that she felt was of more benefit than the thing they were asking her to do. So you've got this thing that she thinks is no benefit, but the client thinks it is, and that she is not that good at. And then she's got this other thing that she thinks is of great benefit, but the client, her boss, not so much. And she doesn't feel like she's that good at. And she could not understand why she might want to work on the thing that she wasn't that good at. And finally, I said to her, imagine that you hired someone to come and clean your home. And you knew that you wanted the floors clean. You felt like the floors were filthy and that it ruined the entire look of the house. And the cleaner comes to the house and the cleaner sees the floors, and the cleaner knows they're not that good at doing floors. It's not their strong suit. But they also see that the cabinets are open, and in the cabinets, everything is a mess. And this cleaner knows, I am good at cabinets. I am so good at organizing. I'm so good at cleaning cabinets. And if they have good clean cabinets, they're more likely to enjoy their apartment. So the homeowner leaves, the person who's hired you to clean the floors, and you get to work cleaning the cabinets. And when the person comes home, they're appalled and angry and don't want to pay you. And you're like, I don't understand why. But of course you can understand why. They wanted you to clean the floor. They paid you to clean the floor. And you just did what you wanted to do instead. And all of a sudden, she had an aha moment. She understood that she had to do the thing that the client wanted her to do, or to find another client, because this client needed the floors done, not the cupboards cleaned. And that metaphor, that comparing a thing she understood with something she was having trouble understanding, got her to understanding. And this is actually fun when you do it. There's a great book out there called I Never Metaphor I Didn't Like. And it's just a bunch of metaphors for you to get a sense of them and play with them and start to recognize them. And one of the secrets for you today, and this is going to be your tool for today, I would like to give you a tool every time that we're on here that you can take the same day and use to become more charismatic in these difficult conversations. Today's tool for today is the way that you can start to think about metaphors and come up with metaphors and play with them is the question, two questions really. What's it like? So being transparent is like being an open book. Insisting on doing spreadsheets when your client wants you to do a paragraph document is like cleaning the cupboards when they want you to wash the floor. Someone who's really good at sales and could sell anything to anyone is like someone who could sell water to a fish. So that is one way to begin. What's it like? And then think about all the ways this thing is like something else. Poets use this all the time. She walks in beauty like the night. A lot of Shakespeare metaphors out there. And so you want to start looking at the world and saying, what is that like? you start doing it and you will start seeing metaphors everywhere. And then the other way you can do that is to look at your audience. And so, for example, that same doctor, we once had a carpenter on our jury. And so I said to him, well, how is knee surgery like carpentry? And then he came up with some metaphors and some analogies that were applicable to that case. He talked about the fact that when they do a knee replacement surgery, they actually cut off the edge of the knee so that they can put a metal cap on it, and then they can put a ball in between. And he said, doing that is like removing rotted wood so that you can put something on there that's going to stick, that's going to hold. And that was a great metaphor for that particular juror. But that one wasn't just what's it like, it is how is it like this thing that I know my jury understands. So for you, think about the people in front of you. What do they understand? What do they know for sure? This is why it's important to be culturally aware when you're working with metaphors. If you're in front of a group that doesn't know baseball, say you're in another country, you don't want to talk about hitting a home run, which is another metaphor. If I'm at work and someone tells me, oh, Heather, great job, you really hit a home run. I didn't literally hit a home run, but I did a good job. And I know that because I know enough about baseball because I live here in the United States. But if you're in a country that has never seen baseball and is not at all exposed to baseball, you would not understand hit a home run as having any meaning for you. So if you take there's two ways to do it. You can start from the beginning and say, what's it like? And look at all the things it's like. And then when you do that, you have to make sure that you work backwards to see that it actually applies to the people you're talking to. Or you can say, how's it like something that you know applies to the people you're talking to? And then you can test it. You do want to be careful and really test it. Ask people, is there any way that this metaphor can be misconstrued or misread? Ask around. But what you're going to find when you think about metaphor this way and you start really focusing on it is you see it everywhere. You're going to see the audience right now. Today, as you go out in the world and use our tool for today, which is what's it like, or how's it like this thing, you're going to see metaphors everywhere. You're going to see people speaking in metaphors. You're going to see that so many of the things that you say on the day to day are metaphors. They are things that are meant to make you understand by comparing something you don't necessarily understand to something that you do. And they are enormously powerful. They are magic. They're also more memorable and easier than story. If I tell you a story like the doctor story, you might take that story and then want to repeat it. And you're like, I don't remember, what kind of doctor was it? Wait, did he create the metaphor or did she? Wait, I don't remember that part of the story. And that wasn't even really a story. It was an anecdote. Like there's no big conflict. I could have done the work to make that a story, right? I could have talked about first meeting that doctor. And then the fact that, oh my gosh, we thought we were going to lose the case. And then he came in with a metaphor. I could make that into a story with a conflict and a big scene, a big fight between good and evil, and then a resolution. But that would take more time. And not only do I not always have that time, but the audience doesn't always have that time. But instead, if I say he was a witness who could sell water to a fish, you might get the sense that he was a very good communicator and very good at being able to convey his ideas because he used a lot of metaphors. Metaphor is one of my favorite things. It's not that they're easy. I don't pretend they're easy. I was recently preparing someone to testify, and we were talking about metaphors and trying to come up with one that applied to this case just didn't apply. It's not always there. But when you can find one, you will see that they are enormously powerful. And then you will feel enormously powerful. And when you feel powerful, your energy changes and other people see you as powerful. And it's just another notch in your charisma belt. Next week, I'm going to be back with another of the 12 tools that make you charismatic. Next week's tool is my favorite tool. It's counterintuitive and it's easy once you get it, easier than metaphor for sure. And I know that you're going to love it. So like, subscribe, share, do all the things with all the things. I would love, love, love to get these tools out to more people. I will be back next week with more tools and specific ways that you can use them so that you can master difficult conversations and not have to be afraid of them any longer. I will see you next week. But in the meantime, as always, take good care.